Welcome YouTubers to another episode in my Grammar Hero series. In this video, I'm going to work out practice problems from the Arithmetic Reasoning section of the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, that is the ASVAB. Before I do that, however, I'm going to take a few minutes to discuss the ASVAB itself. First, I want to point out that it's a test that's comprised of 10 different subsections, including general science, arithmetic reasoning, word knowledge, paragraph comprehension, mathematics knowledge, and so on. In addition to receiving a score for each of these subtests, you'll also receive what's called an AFQT score, that is an Armed Forces Qualification Test score. That score says, 1, you're either qualified to join the military, or 2, you're not qualified to join the military. And as you can see here, the score is broken down into two different ways. The first is a percentile score range, and the second is in categories. So for example, if you score a 31 on your AFQT, that means you'll have scored better than 31% of all test takers, and similarly, that would place you in category 3B. The AFQT score is calculated based on your performance on the arithmetic reasoning, the word knowledge, the paragraph comprehension, and the mathematics knowledge subtest of the ASVAB. So my advice to anyone who's currently preparing for the ASVAB is this: focus 100% of your studying efforts on these 4 sections. That way you can boost your AFQT score. Generally, the higher your AFQT score is, the more jobs that open up to you, and the better off you'll be in the long run. Okay? So all that said, let's go ahead and get started with today's guided practice. Again, I'm working out a full-length practice test from the arithmetic reasoning section of the ASVAB. I want to stress that on the ASVAB, you're not going to be given any aids such as a calculator or a formula sheet. Instead, you have to rely on your ability to do long division and multiplication, including with fractions and decimals, to be very successful on this section of the test. As you'll see in just a minute, I'm going to make an effort to work everything out in great detail. So that way, if you're rusty with long division or multiplication, you should be able to pick it up as you go through my practice test. That said, I am a human, so I may make a mistake on some of these problems. As you'll see shortly, some of these problems require a tremendous amount of work to get them done. So just bear with me if I make a mistake. Finally, I want to say the way you should use this video is as soon as I read a problem, you should pause the video, attempt to work it out yourself, and then as soon as you are confident you got the question right, or you're at a point where you're struggling and don't know how to move forward, go ahead and play the video and see what I do and go from there. So number 1, let me grab my pen first. Number 1, Barbara worked 30 hours last week. She earned $422. She was paid $455 this week. Approximately how many hours did she work? So we're interested in finding her hourly wage. And to do that, we're going to do dollars divided by hours to find the hourly wage. So we're told first that she earned $422 when she worked 30 hours. The way you can read this is 422 over 30, or as is the case with all fractions, 422 divided by 30. So let's go ahead and set this up. We're going to be doing long division to solve this problem. Again, this is going to be 422 divided by 30. And in case you forgot how to do long division, we say this: how many times does 30 go into 4 without going over? It doesn't. 4 is too small. how many times does 30 go into 42 without going over? The answer is 1 time. 1 times 30, of course, is 30. We subtract 42 by 30, which is 12. And then we drop down this 2. Now the question is, how many times does 30 go into 12? It doesn't. How many times does 30 go into 122 without going over? I'm going to go ahead and say, let's go with 4. Because 30 times 4, of course, is 120. Again, 30 times 4 is 120. Subtract. 122 minus 120 is simply 2. Does 30 go into 2? It doesn't. So we have to add a 0. When we add this 0, we have to bring up a decimal place. Okay? Does 30 go into 20? It doesn't. So we have to add another 0. And because we added a second 0, we have to add another 0 up here. So the first 0 I tacked on, I had to add a decimal place. The second 0 I tacked, in response to the second 0 I tacked on, I had to add a 0 here. Okay? So now the question is, how many times does 30 go into 200? Well, 3 times 10, not 10. 3 times 8. 3 times 6 is 180. 3 times 7 is, or 3 times 6 is 18. Therefore, 30 times 6 is 180. 3 times 7 is 21. Therefore, 30 times 7 is 210. So we know this is going to be a 6. Again, 30 times 6 is 180. Subtract. 20 minus 180, of course, is 20. And we can see that she gets paid 14. And there's going to be a remainder here. I'm just going to stop at this point because we have enough information to approximate, which is what we're asked to do, this answer. So now the question is, if she was paid $455 this week, approximately how many hours did she work? To make this math simple, I'm going to round this 1406 per hour to just 14. And again, we want to find out how many hours she worked. So we're going to do 400. Let me rewrite this somewhere down here. 455 divided by 14. Again, how many times does 14 go into 4 without going over? It doesn't. How many times does 14 go into 45 without going over? Take a look at our answer choices. They all start with 3. So I'm going to do 14 times 3. 4 times 3, of course, is 12. Carry the 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So, again, 14 times 3 is going to be 42. Subtract. 45 minus 42 is 3. Drop down this 5. How many times does 14 go into 35? Again, we have 14, 28, and if I were to add 28 to 14, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, carry the 1, 3, 4. These are the factors of 14. 14, 28, 42. We're asking ourselves, how many times does 14 go into 35 without going over? We can see it's 2. 14 times 2, of course, is 28. And as you can see here, we already have a good approximation of our answer, namely 32 hours. So in this problem, we had to do 2 instances of long division to get our answer. Number 2, Timothy runs every morning once around a circular track in a park close to his house. If the radius of the circular track is 50 yards, how far does Timothy run every morning? Okay, so Timothy's running around a circular track. We're told that the radius is 50 yards. Okay. And we're asked, how far does Timothy run every morning? So as far as circles go on the ASVAB, you need to know two formulas. You need to know the circumference formula, this formula for circumference, namely, and there's two of these formulas. 2 pi r, that is 2 times pi times the radius, are simply pi times diameter. These are equivalent. And you need to know the area formula, which is pi r squared. Okay? The key difference between circumference and area is this. Area refers to all the shaded portion, that is the face of the circle. Okay? Whereas circumference refers to this outer edge of the circle. Imagine if you were to start walking here and you were to walk in a circle. The distance it took you to walk around that circle would be the circumference. And if you think about it that way, it should help you keep them separate in your mind. In this case, we're asked to find out how far he runs around the track every morning. So we're going to be looking for the circumference. We're given the radius, so we're going to use this formula. So let's go ahead and start plugging stuff in. Circumference equals 2 pi. R in this case is 50. Circumference equals 50 times 2 is simply 100 pi. Now, for both of these problems, you can see that you have to address the fact that pi is there. Since you're not allowed to use a calculator, pi is always going to be 3.14. Okay? Again, in many cases, you're going to have to approximate answers like I did in the first problem. So you're going to have to use an approximation of pi, namely 3.14. So let's go ahead and rewrite this with pi. So this is 100 times 3.14. Now you could work this out by doing 100 times 3.14. That's the tedious way to do things when you have a whole number like 100. Instead, this is how you can do it. So whenever you multiply something by 10, 100, or 1,000, you count up the number of zeros. In this case, 100 has 2. And you move the decimal place twice to the right. 1, 2. So in this case, we know the circumference is going to be 314. So that math worked out pretty nicely for us. Again, you could have done this in my previous videos. When I multiply a 3-digit integer by a 3-digit integer, I'm more likely to make mistakes. This is a lot of work. Knowing this shortcut reduces errors and the time it takes you to complete this problem. Okay. Number 3, Jack sets up a security camera in his backyard to take automatic pictures every 15 minutes. If the first picture is taken at 10 p.m. and Jack shuts the camera off at 2 a.m., how many pictures will Jack have? So first picture's at 10. And to make things simple, rather than trying to come up with a formula for this scenario, I'm just going to write out every 15 minutes. 10, 15, 10, 30, 10, 45, 11, 11, 15, 11, 30, 11, 45, 12, 12, 15, 12, 30, 12, 45, 1, 1, 15, 1, 30, 1, 45, and finally 2 o'clock. So these timestamps are when pictures were taken on his security system. Just count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., 17 pictures were taken. Again, don't overthink problems like this. I could have used a formula to solve this one. Since I knew it was fairly simple to write out, that's the approach I took. Again, like this example right here, I could have taken this approach and it would have created more work and more mistakes. Always go with what's going to be simple and quick and accurate. All right. All right, number 4. Joy is trying a new weight loss plan. The theory seems simple. Eat fewer calories and exercise more. The book says that Joy's body burns 2,000 calories per day to maintain her current weight, and every 2,500 calorie deficit is a pound of weight lost. If Joy burns 400 calories per day exercising and goes on a 1,500 calorie per day diet, how many pounds should she lose in one 7-day week? So first we need to find out what her daily caloric deficit is. Then we need to find out what that is multiplied by 7. And then we need to take that number and divide it by 2,500 to figure out how many pounds she lost. So we know that 2,000 is the number of calories she eats to maintain her current weight. We're told that she went on a 1,500 calorie diet. So in other words, every day, just by dieting, she's incurring a deficit of 500 calories. And we're also told that she's burning 400 additional calories by exercising. So we know each day she's incurring a 900 calorie deficit. She's doing that over the course of a 7-day week. So we're going to multiply that by 7. 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 0 is 0. 9 times 7 is 63. So over the course of the week, she's burning and dieting 6,300 calories. Now we're told that there are 2,500 calories per pound lost. So we're going to take 6,300 and divide it by 2,500. Okay. Again, you can read this as 6,300 over 2,500, or in our case, 6,300 divided by 2,500. To make the division simple, I'm going to kick off these zeros. So this is going to become 63 divided by 25. Let's go ahead and work this out. Again, 63 divided by 25. 25 times 2 is 50. 25 times 3 is 75. So we know this is going to be 2. 25 times 2 is 50. 63 minus 50 is 13. And right away, we can see that we're done. This basically says she's losing 2-point-something pounds over the course of the week. Answer choice 4, answer choice 5, answer choice 3. We can see it's going to be 2-something. So we could stop at this point, and if you're taking the real ASVAB, you need to be able to see this and realize you're done. Okay? So if you wanted to continue working this out, that'd be fine. But I'm going to go ahead and stop. We already know it's going to be 2-point-something pounds. More specifically, it's going to be 2 and 13 over 25 pounds. 13 is very close to 1/2. So they clearly did an approximation on this. Okay, so this is our answer. All right, number 5. Jimmy B's Diner runs a breakfast special. If a customer buys the special for $2, he can come back on consecutive days and eat for just $1.25. If a person paid $8.25 for breakfasts during the week, how many consecutive days did he eat breakfast at Specials at Jimmy B's. So again, consecutive days means how many days in a row. Okay? So to answer this question, we want to find out how many days in a row did this person eat breakfast at Jimmy B's. We're told that the first breakfast costs $2. So right away we're going to take $8.25 and minus $2 from that, because this is the first day. 5 minus 0 is 0. 2 minus 0 is 0. Bring down your decimal place. 8 minus 2 is... Oops, I did that wrong. 5 minus 0 is 5. 2 minus 0 is 2. 6 minus 8, or 8 minus 2 is 6. Okay, so this is basically breakfast number 1 right here. Now we're told that after they pay once, they can come back each consecutive day for $1.25. So we're going to take $6.25 divided by $1.25 to figure out how many consecutive days after the first day they came back. So we're going to do some long division here. Here's how you do long division. You cannot do long division with decimals with this number, this 125, as a decimal. You just cannot do it. You have to move this decimal twice to make this a whole number, namely 125. When you move this one twice, you have to move this one that's under the division bar twice as well. Okay? So this, in other words, becomes 625 minus 125. I'm going to take a guess and say 125 goes into 625 5 times. 5 times 5, of course, is 25. Carry the 2. 2 times 5 is 10. Plus 2 is 12. Carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. So it turns out that 125 goes into 625 5 times evenly. Again, that's 625. We subtract, that's 0, no remainder. So again, how many consecutive days did this person eat at Jimmy B's? The first day plus 5 consecutive days for a total of 6 days in a row. Okay, number 6. 40 soldiers in basic training are to undergo hand-to-hand combat training in a 60-minute training period, but only 10 can be trained at one time. In order for each soldier to get the same amount of time training, how many minutes should each soldier be trained? So basically, you're going to do 60. You know there are 40 people total, and they can only be trained in groups of 10. So you know there are going to be 4 groups at least. So this becomes 60 divided by 4. Again, long division. 4 goes into 6 one time without going over. 4 times 1, of course, is 4. Subtract. 6 minus 4 is 2. Bring down this 0. 4 goes into 25 times. 5 times 4 is 20. Subtract, that becomes 0. So for all the groups of 10 to get through, you're going to have to give them 15 minutes each. Okay? Number 7, Steve can make 9 candles in an hour. How long will it take him to make 126 candles? So we can set up a proportion to solve this problem. Again, Steve can make 9 candles in 1 hour. So I have candles over time. The question is, how long will it take him to make 126 candles? Again, candles over time, which is unknown, so I'm going to represent that with an X. Cross multiply, that is 9x equals 126. Divide both sides by 9 to get x by itself. This crosses out. We're left with x equals 126 over 9. Again, you can read this as 126 over 9 or 126 divided by 9. Let's go ahead and work that out to this off to the side. Does 9 go into 1? It doesn't. Does 9 go into 12 without going over? 1 time. 9 times 1 is 9. Subtract. 12 minus 9. 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 3. Drop down this 6. Does 9 go into 36 without going over? It does. 4 times. 9 times 4 is 36. So there's no remainder. So as we can see, the answer to this problem is going to be 14 hours. Okay, number 8. I'm just going to say this before I start this problem. This is, at first glance, an easy problem, but once we get into it, you're going to see that it's a very difficult problem. So if you're doing very well on the ASVAB, you're going to see something like this. If for some reason you struggle with what I explain here, bear in mind that this is a higher level problem. So number 8, your boss gives you a bonus and you decide to carpet the bedrooms in your house. The house contains one 12 by 14 foot bedroom, one 12 by 10 foot bedroom, and one 8 by 12 foot bedroom. If carpet costs $4.25 per square yard, how much will this project cost? So we can see we're given the areas of the rooms in terms of feet, but we're given the cost of carpet in terms of yards. That's a conflict. We cannot just simply find the areas and multiply them by this figure. That would not work. It'd be inaccurate. So what I want to point out first is this, and I'm going to do it over here with some in this blank space that I have. We're told that it's $4.25 per square yard, but we're given everything in feet. We know that there are 3 feet in 1 yard, and we know we're going to be dealing with area. How many square feet are there in 1 square yard? So again, think about it this way. A square yard looks like this. Length times width are side by side. Again, we know this can be 1 yard or 3 feet, and 1 yard or 3 feet. 3 times 3 is 9. So given this, we know there are 9 feet in 1 yard squared. Okay? So we're going to use this information once we get to a certain part in this problem to actually make a little conversion. So just stay tuned. Keep this in mind. And this is useful to know. 3 feet in 1 yard, most of you knew that. 9 feet in 1 square yard. If you didn't know how to make a little square here and figure that out, now you do, and this is very useful. Okay, so first I want to add up all these areas. We're told that one is 12 by 14. One room is 12 by 10. And another room is 12 by 8. Do this one right away. 12 times 10 is 120. Let's work out these other two by hand. Again, 14 times 12. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. Drop down to 0 since we're starting a new row. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. Let's add. 8 plus 0 is 8. 4 plus 2 is 6. 1 plus 0 is 1, so we know this is 168. Let's do 12 times 8. 8 times 2 is 16. Carry the 1. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So that's 96. Let's go ahead and add these up. 8 plus 0 plus 6. 14. Carry the 1. We have 9, or 6 plus 1 is 7. plus 2 is 9, plus 9 is 18, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. So we know the sum of all the areas of the room is 384 feet squared. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, at this point, I'm going to use this fact that there are 9 feet in a square yard to actually convert this to yards and then multiply by 425. So again, I'm going to do 384 divided by 9. Okay. Does 9 go into 3? It doesn't. Does 9 go into 38? It does 4 times. 9 times 4, of course, is 36. Subtract. 38 minus 36 is 2. Drop down this 4. 9 goes into 24 2 times. 9 times 2 is 18. Subtract. 24 minus 18. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 6. Does 9 go into 6? It doesn't, so we have to add a decimal. 9 goes, and when we add that decimal, we have to bring a 0 down. 9 times 7 is 63, which is too big. 9 times 6 is 54, so we're actually going to make this 0.6. 9 times 6 is 54. Subtract. 60 minus 54 is 6. So we can see here that we're kind of stuck with this remainder of 6 repeating over and over again. Again, this would be, if I were to work it out, 0.66666 repeated. So again, to get some of these questions right, it's always easier to get to this point and then make an estimation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round this up to just 42.7. Now when I do that, I know that the answer I get is going to be very close to the right answer, but it's going to be slightly bigger since I rounded up. So now I'm going to take 42.7 and multiply it by 4.25. Again, that's the total square yards of all the rooms. And that's the cost per square yard. Again, I did the conversion there. Now I'm multiplying decimals. To multiply decimals, like dividing decimals, you make everything a whole number. I'm going to move this decimal place once to make that 427. Move that decimal place twice to make that 425. So in total, I moved 3 decimal places. At the end of this problem, I'm going to tack those back on. So let me rewrite this so I don't make any mistakes. When you multiply 3-digit integers by 3-digit integers, your odds of making a mistake go way up. If you want proof of that, go watch one of my other videos. I've made a mistake on a problem like this before. These are very tedious. That's why calculators were invented. But if you're going to score, a 93 or higher on the ASVAB, got to be able to deal with stuff like this. So let's go ahead and work it out. 9 times 7 is 35. Carry the 3. 2 times 5 is 10. Plus 3 is 13. Carry the 1. 4 times 5 is 20. Plus 1 is 21. Bring down a 0 since we're starting the second integer. 2 times 7 is 14. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4. Plus 1 is 5. 4 times 2 is 8. We're starting the third integer, so we bring 2 zeros down. 4 times 7 is 28. Carry the 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Plus 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 4 times 4 is 16. Plus 1 is 17. Let's add. 5 plus 0 is 5. 3 plus 4 is 7. 5 plus 1 is 6. Plus 8 is 14. Carry the 1. 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11, carry the 1. 7 plus 1 is 8. 1 plus nothing is just 1. Again, 181475. Got to add my 3 decimal places back in. 1, 2, 3. And we get 181.475, which, as we can see, is very close to number A. Again, if I didn't round, I would have gotten this exactly. But since I'm lazy and I want to work quickly and accurately, I know that my answer choices can be close, but it's going to be slightly off because I rounded a little bit. Okay? A lot of work for that problem. Again, if you're doing very well on the ASVAB, you'll start seeing stuff like this. All right, number 9. In a manufacturing plant that produces new CD players, there is a 15% probability that a CD player will be defective. If 5 CD players are manufactured, what is the probability all of them will be defective? Okay? This is a statistics problem, and it's not a very easy one, to be honest with you. Again, if you're doing well in the ASVAB, you may start seeing problems like this. The way I like to think about this problem is the way I think about all statistics problems, that is in terms of dice. So we all know dice have 6 faces. There's a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 6 face. Don't count the dots on that last one. The odds of rolling any one of these faces on any given roll is 1 over 6. Okay? So if I were to ask you, what are the odds of rolling a 3? You would say 1/6. If I were to ask you, however, what are your odds of rolling a 3 2 times in a row? Well, that would be 1/6 times 1/6, or 1 over 36. Okay? This question is very similar. It's basically saying if there's a 15% probability that a CD player will be defective, what are the odds that 5 are manufactured and all of them are defective? So it's basically this. Again, 15% can be represented as 15 over 100, which is 0.15. So you can either do it this way, or this way. Again, just like this question, it's 15% times 15% times 15% times 15% times 15%. That is 15% times itself 5 times. It turns out when you do this, the number is going to be very, very small, and it's going to be this one. Okay? Just based on my knowledge of math alone, I wouldn't have to work this out to solve it. And you can see that it would be a tremendous amount of work to work this out. Again, if you get a question like this, chances are you're already scoring in the 90 percentile rank or above. So take the time to work this one out. I'm not going to do it because multiplying 0.15 by itself 5 times is a tremendous amount of work. This would take about 5 minutes in and of itself. Okay? If you want, pull up a calculator right now and multiply that all out and see if this is what comes up. I guarantee it will. Okay, number 10. A box containing books weighs 60 pounds. If the books weigh 53 pounds, what is the weight of the box alone? 60-pound box full of books. Books weigh 53 pounds, so we know the books just weigh, or the box weighs 7 pounds. A simple problem. Not much to explain on that one. All right, number 11. Paul decides to buy his dad socks for his birthday. He has $30, and the socks he wants sell for $3.95 per pair. Assuming no sales tax, how many pairs of socks can he buy? So this becomes this problem. 30 divided by 3.95. Looks like a fairly simple problem, but you can see we have a decimal here. Remember what I said earlier. You have a decimal on the outside of the division problem. You have to make this a whole number. In this case, we're going to have to move it twice to make that 395. When I move this one twice, I have to take this one and move it twice. So this problem becomes 395 and 3,000. So this problem becomes 3,000 divided by 395. Okay? Again, if I were to round this up to 400, I know 4 times 7 is 280. So 395 times 7 is going to be close to 2,080. So let's go ahead and just multiply this by 7 and see if that gets us close to 3,000. 5 times 7 is 35. Carry the 3. 9 times 7 is 63. Plus 3 is 66. Carry the 6. 7 times 3 is 21. Plus 6 is 27. Okay, as we can see, this gets us very close to 3,000 without going over. So we know this is going to be 7. 7 times 395 is 2,765. Subtract. Now I'm going to do this subtraction off to the side because it gets a little hairy. Again, 3,000 minus 2,765. I have to borrow. I can't do 0 minus 5. I can't do 0 minus 6. And I can't do 0 minus 7. So I have to borrow from this 3. I'm going to make this a 2. This will become a 10. Okay, now I can do this one, but I can't do these two. So I got to borrow from this 10 and make this a 9. This one becomes a 10. Now I just can't do this one. So I got to borrow from this 10, make it a 9, and this becomes a 10. So this is 10 minus 5, which is 5. 9 minus 6, which is 3. 9 minus 7, which is 2. And 2 minus 2, which is 0. So this is 235. Does 395 go into 235? It doesn't. So I have to add a 0. When I do that, I have to put a decimal up there. Now the question is, how many times does 395 go into 2,350? Again, think about this as 400. 400 times 6 would give you 2,400, which would be too big. 400 times 5 would get you 20, which is pretty close. So this would actually be 7.5. So let's take a look at the problem. Assuming no sales tax, how many pairs of socks can he buy? Well, he can afford 7 full pairs of socks and 1 half pair of socks. Well, you can't just buy a half pair of socks because that would just be 1 sock. So in this case, he can only afford 7 full pairs of socks. All right. Number 12. Penny makes $25.70 in tips on Wednesday, $32.30 in tips on Thursday, and $31.80 in tips on Friday. On Saturdays, she spends 1/4 of the money on dinner with her friend. How much money does she have left? So we know she made $25.70, $32.30, and $31.80. Let's go ahead and add those up to find out how much money she has total. 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. 7 plus 3 is 10, plus 8 is 18. Drop down our decimal, carry our 1. 5 plus 2 is 7, plus 1 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8. So we know she earned $89.80 from tips alone. That's not the right answer choice, because the question is, after spending a quarter of her money on tips, on dinner, how much money does she have left? So in other words, this is $89.80. Again, 1/4 is this, 1/4. So we know we're going to divide this into quarters, which is fourths. So we're going to divide this by 4. Again, since there's no decimal in this number on the outside of the division bar, we don't have to rearrange things. It's fine if you leave it here. Okay? And again, you can actually bring it up right here. Does 4 go into 8? It does. 2 times. 4 times 2, of course, is 8. Subtract. 8 minus 8 is 0. Again, just drop down all these numbers. Does 4 go into 9? It does. And again, oops, I didn't want to bring that decimal up. Sorry about that. I haven't done long division with decimals in a while. Does 4 go into 9? It does. It goes into it 2 times. 4 times 2, of course, is 8. Subtract. 9 minus 8 is 1. Drop down that 8. Drop down that 0. 4 go into 1? It doesn't. Does 4 go into 18? It does. 4 times 4 times 4 is 16. 18 minus 16 is 2. Drop down this 0. 4 goes into 25 times. So we know a quarter of $89.80 is $22.45. Okay? So in light of that, to answer this problem, we're going to do $89.80 minus 22.45. Again, that's a quarter. That's not going to be the answer, because that's what a quarter of $89.80 is. Subtract this out. 0 minus 5 we can't do. We have to borrow this. That becomes a 7. That becomes a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 7 minus 4 is 3. Drop down your decimal. 9 minus 2 is 7. 8 minus 2 is 6. So the answer is 67.35. Again, had to be comfortable adding decimals and dividing decimals. I hope some of these problems get a little bit easier. Right now they're a little tedious. Number 13. Your mom sends you to the store to buy peas. She said she needs 8 ounces of canned peas to finish her recipe, and tells you to choose the cheapest peas. Which would be the cheapest to buy? 2 4-ounce cans of peas at 79 cents a piece. So 79 times, oops, I wrote 72. 79 times 4. 9 times 4 is 36. Carry the 3. 7 times 4 is 28 plus 3. 28, 29, 30, 31. What did I do here? Oh, why am I multiplying that by 4? It's 79 times 2. Sorry about that. 9 times 2 is 18. Carry the 1. 7 times 2 is 14. Plus 1 is 15. So we know this is $1.58 total. Okay? 1 ounce can of peas at $1.49. That's cheaper than $1.58, so we can cross this one out. 2 3-ounce cans of peas at 59 cents each, so we're buying 3 cans at 59 cents. 9 times 3 is 27. Carry the 2. 5 times 3 is 15. Plus 2 is 17. So we know these are $1.77. And 3, oops, that's a mistake again. It's always the simple problems I make mistakes on. 2 3-ounce cans of peas at 59 cents. Again, the recipe needs 8 ounces. 2 3-ounce cans is only going to be 6 ounces, so we know that's not the right choice. 3 3-ounce cans of peas at 65 cents, so that's 65 times 3. 5 times 3 is 15, carry the 1. 6 times 3 is 18 plus 1, 19. So this is $1.95. So clearly B, or $1.49, is the cheapest option. Sorry about those mistakes. I usually make small mistakes like that in every video I upload, so sorry about that. Number 14 is very difficult to do. It's in regard to distance equals rate times time, albeit with a lot of twists and turns to it. I have a video called Mastering Distance, Rate, and Time Problems on the ASVAB, where I work out this problem specifically. Take a look at that video for practice on this problem, as well as I think there's 4 other problems I work out in that video. So I'm going to skip this one since I already made a video on it by itself. Okay. Uh, 15. A bin of screws at the hardware store contains 7 dozen screws when full. The stock clerk is supposed to reorder screws when the bin is 1/6 full. How many screws are in the bin when it comes time to reorder? So we know there are 7 dozen. So that's going to be 7 times 12. 2 times 7 is 14. Carry the 1. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8. So we know there's supposed to be 84 screws in the bin. And the stock clerk has to refill the bin when it gets to 1/6 full. So we're going to take 84, multiply that by 1/6. Again, when you multiply fractions with a whole number, you can make a whole number a fraction by putting it over 1, and then you multiply straight across. So this becomes 84 over 6. Again, 84 times 1, 1 times 6. And again, you could read this as 84 divided by 6. So we have to do that in this case. 84 divided by 6. 6 goes into 8 one time without going over. 6 times 1, of course, is 6. Subtract. 8 minus 6 is 2. Drop down this 4. 6 goes into 24 4 times. 4 times 6, of course, is 24. So there's no remainder. So based on this, we know when there are 14 screws left in the bin, which is 1/6 of the 7 dozen, the clerk needs to order more. Number 16, Autumn found a wallet containing $900 in the street. She returned the wallet to its owner, who gave her a $130 reward. What percentage of 900 was the reward? So she was given a $130 reward. What percentage or proportion over 900 is that? So that's this problem. To make this problem easier, kick off these zeros. Rewrite the problem as 13 divided by 90. And again, that can be read as 13 divided by 90. Does 90 go into 13? It doesn't, so I have to add a 0 here. When I do that, I have to bring up a decimal. Now the question is, does 90 go on 130? Let's see. It does. Let me see here. I may have made a mistake. Bear with me. It does. So, sorry about that. I just had a little bit of a brain fart there. Does 90 go into 130? It does. One time. 90 times 1, of course, is 90. 130 minus 90 is 0 minus 0 is 0. 13 minus 9 is 4. So 130 minus 90 is 40. Does 90 go into 40? It doesn't, so I have to add a 0. Does 90 go into 400? And again, we can see that this answer is going to be 0.1 something. So it's not this one, nor is it that one. Does 90 go into 400? I'm going to say it does. I'm going to say it does 4 times. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 9 is 36. So 4. 90 times 4, of course, is 36. We subtract. 400 minus 360 is 40. Again, we're in the same scenario. We have to add a 0. 90 goes into 400 4 times. So this is just going to be 4444, repeat it. Or, if we round, 14%. All right, number 17. A 12-yard long string was used to enclose a freshly painted flower garden, forming a square around the garden. If each side of the square used the same amount of rope, how long was one side of the square surrounding the garden? So again, we formed a square around the flower garden. All the sides are the same. And we know a 12-yard long string was used. So the perimeter is going to be side plus side plus side plus side. In other words, all the sides are equal since this is a square. And what's more, we know side plus side plus side plus side is going to be 12. That is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4s equals 12. Now we solve for s, divide both sides by 4. That goes away. We're left with s equals 12 divided by 4, or 3. So we know each of these sides is going to be a distance of 3 yards, which is right there. All right, number 18. Brittany's on her high school track team. This year she placed first in 4 of her races, so she went first, second in 6 of her races, so second, and third in 8 of her races, so third. Okay. The fraction of races in which she placed first is correctly expressed as. So out of all of her races, how many times did she place first? Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. She placed first 4 times out of a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 races total. We can reduce this by a factor of 2. I'm going to divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 2. 4 divided by 2, of course, is 8. 18 divided by 4 divided by 2 is 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So this is 2 ninths. That is to say, she placed first in 2 out of every 9 races she was a part of. Okay, number 19. A rectangle is 3 times as long as it is wide. So we got a rectangle. The perimeter of the rectangle is 147 inches. What is the length of the rectangle? So we're told that it is 3 times as long as it is wide. So if it's x wide, it's 3x long. Okay? And that's the length. This is the length. That's the width. This is the width. If the perimeter is 147, what is the length of the rectangle? So again, just like this problem, we're going to do 3x plus 3x plus x plus x. Should be a plus there. Equals 147. Again, to find the perimeter, you add up all the sides, which we've conveniently written as x and 3x. So this becomes 3x, 6x, 7x, 8x. 8x equals 147. Divide both sides by 8 to get x by itself. 147 divided by 8. Does 8 go into 14? It does one time. 14, 1 times 8 is 8. 14 minus 8, of course, is 6. Drop down this 7. Does 8 go into 67? It does 8 times. 8 times 8, of course, is 64. Subtract. 67 minus 64 is 3. Does 8 go into 3? It doesn't. We have to add a 0. Add a decimal when we add a 0. 8 goes into 33 times. 8 times 3, of course, is 24. 30 minus 24 is 6. Okay. Add a 0. Does 8 go into 60? Let's think about that. It does 7 times. So we know we're going to be working with the decimal here. We can round it to 8.4 since we know this 7 is going to kick that 3 up. So we know x is equal to approximately 18.4. We want to find its length. So we're going to take 18.4 and multiply it by 3. Again, we're going to make this a whole number by moving this decimal over 1. We'll add it back in at the end. 4 times 3 is 12 plus 1. 8 times 3 is 24 plus 1 is 25. Add 1. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 is 4. Again, bring that decimal back in. So this becomes 45.2, which we can see up here is going to be 45 inches. All right, number 20. Lyle bought a trampoline that measures 9 by 12 feet. If he wants to surround the trampoline with a fence so that the fence is 8 feet from each edge of the trampoline, how many feet of chain link fence will he need? So we know he's got a trampoline that is 9 feet wide by 12 feet long, and we know he wants a perimeter of at least 8 feet on it. So it's going to be 8 feet this way, 8 feet this way, 8 feet this way, and that's not drawn to scale. 8 feet this way. So you can see that the fence is going to look like this. This distance is 12, but we want 8 additional feet to get to the fence here. So this becomes 12 plus 8 plus 8. Again, this is going to be extended 8 to the fence and 8 to the fence. Similarly, this 9 is going to be extended 8 to the fence and 8 feet to the fence. So this becomes 9 plus 8 plus 8. And we're asked to find how many feet or the perimeter of the chain link fence we're going to need. So this is 9 plus 16. 6 plus 9, of course, is 15. Carry the 1. 1 1 plus 1 is 2. Again, this is 12 plus 8 plus 8, or 12 plus 16. 12 plus, or 6 plus 2 is 8. 1 plus 1 is 2. So we know we're going to have the fence is going to look like this. 25, not there, 25, 25, 28, 28. So we just have to add all these up. 25 plus 25 is 50. But let me write that out. 25 plus 25 plus 28 plus 28. Again, this is 50. Let's find out what 28 plus 28 is. 8 plus 8 is 16 plus 1, or carry the 1. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So this becomes 56 plus 50, or simply 106 feet. All right, number 21. A painter has painted a picture on a piece of canvas that measures 10 by 14 inches. In order to accommodate a frame, he has left an unpainted margin of 1 inch all the way around. What part of the canvas has been painted? So again, we got a canvas here. We know the canvas is 14 by 10. And we're told that the painter has left a 1 inch border to frame his painting. So this is just the area that's going to get painted. We're asked to find out what proportion of the area of this canvas is going to be painted. So this becomes 14 minus an inch, so this becomes 12. And this becomes 10 minus an inch on the left and minus an inch on the right, or 8. So the total area on the canvas is 10 times 14, whereas the painted area on the canvas is 12 times 8. That would be the correct proportion. That is painted area over total canvas area. 12 times 8 is 8 times 2 is 6, carry the 1, or 16, carry the 1. 8 times 8 is 1, plus 1 is 96, so this becomes 96 over 140. Again, we know 752% is not going to be equivalent to this. We know that this is much greater than 25%. So the question is 96 divided by 140 68.5%, or 66.1%? So we got to do some long division. 96 divided by 140. Does 140 go into 9? It doesn't. Does 140 go into 96? It doesn't. We have to add a 0. In adding the 0, we have to bring a decimal up there. Now the question is, how many times does 140 go into 96? Again, we know it's going to be 6 to start things off. So let's do 140 times 6. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 4 is 24. Carry the 2. 6 times 1 is 6. Plus 2 is 8. So we know this is going to be 840. Subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0. 6 minus 4 is 2. And 9 minus 8 is 1. Now the question is, and again that was 6. Now the question is, how many times does 140 go into 120? It doesn't, so we have to add a 0. How many times does 140 go into 1200? It's either going to be 8 or 6. In this case, we know it's going to be 8. So we're going to do 140 times 8. 0 times 8 is 0. 8 times 4 is 32. Carry the 3. 8 times 1 is 8, 9, 10, 11. So we know this is 11, 20. And we can stop right there. We can see that this is going to be 0.685, which is answer choice A. Again, you do not have to work something out all the way if you know what it's going to be once you reach a certain point in the problem. Alright, number 22. A road map is drawn to a scale of 2 inches equals 3 miles. John wants to drive to a point that is 9.5 inches away. How many actual miles does this represent? So again, we're given the scale 2 inches equals 3 miles. I always like to put this in unit form. That is 1 inch equals how many miles? So this is going to be 1 inch equals 1.5 miles. And similarly, we know that half of an inch, or 0.5 inch, is going to be half of this, which is 0.75 miles. I like to do this right off the bat, just do these quick conversions. That way I can actually use these when I'm working out the problem. So we're told that he wants to drive to a point that's 9.5 inches away. So I'm going to use this 1 inch equals 1.5 miles to find out how far 9 inches is. Then I'm going to add 0.75 to represent the half mile, or the half inch. So 1.5 times 9. This will get us the 9 inches. Again, since we have a decimal in multiplication, we'll move it once, and we'll add it back in at the end. 5 times 9 is 45. Carry the 4. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 4 is 13. Add our decimal back in, 1. Again, that's 9 inches. We still have this half inch to account for, so we have to do 13.5 plus 0.75. 0 plus 5 is 5. 7 plus 5 is 2, or 12. Carry the 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. 1 plus 0 is 1. So we know this is 14.25 miles, or 14.25 miles. Again, 0.25 is equivalent to 1/4. Okay, 23. A field measures 100 yards by 75 yards. If one person wanted to walk diagonally from one corner of the field to the other corner, how far would she walk? So we know we got a rectangular field that measures 75 by 100. Question is, how far would it take someone to walk from this point to this point, that is diagonally? Well, as you can see, these are all right angles in rectangles. And when you draw a diagonal across a rectangle, you actually split the rectangle into 2 right triangles, okay? And this is the distance we're after. When you have a right triangle like this, you can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the hypotenuse, which I denote it with the x. Pythagorean theorem is this: a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And again, c squared is the hypotenuse, the distance of the hypotenuse, or the length of the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always directly across from the right angle, so the c squared in this case would be right here, the x or the c, however you want to denote it. And we have the 2 distances of our lengths of our legs. So we can plug these in. 75 squared plus 100 squared equals c squared, or x squared, whatever you want to put in there. And you might be looking at this and saying, wow, that's a lot of math. 75 times 75, 100 times 100, those are big numbers. Well, before I go any further, I'm going to reduce this all by a factor of 25. I know 25 goes into 75 3 times, and I know 25 goes into 100 4 times. So at the very end of this, instead of dividing c squared by 25. I'm actually going to reverse that and multiply it by 25 to get the actual distance. So this becomes this. 3 squared, of course, is 9. 4 squared is 16. Again, this all equals c squared. 9 plus 16 is 25 equals c squared. Square root both sides to find the answer. C just becomes 5. Now again, I divided both of these by 25 to make this math very simple. Now I'm going to take 5, multiply it by 25 to get the actual distance. 5 times 5 is 25, carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. So we know this actual distance is 125 yards. Okay? Again, you have to be pretty comfortable using little tricks like this to make the math easier. You could have worked this out by doing 75 times 75. Again, and you could have done 100 times 100. When you work long multiplication problems out like these, you're apt to make mistakes. As long as you're comfortable reducing and then going ahead and adding and fixing that at the end like I did here, you should be fine. Okay, number 24. Let me just see how many more problems we have. So there's 30. Okay. And as you can probably tell if you've watched the video this far, this section of the test is pretty intense. It takes a lot of mental focus to work your way through it. 24. Michael owns a consignment shop in which he earns 35% commission on items he sells. If Michael had $8,434.80 worth of sales in the week, how much was his commission? So we're going to take 8,434.8 and multiply that by 0.35. That's 35%. Again, we're multiplying two decimals, so we're going to move this decimal 1, 2. Move this decimal 1, 2. So we move the decimal a total of 4 places. At the very end, we'll add those decimals back in. But in the meantime, I'm going to rewrite it just to keep things clear. Again, I just rewrote it without the decimals. 0 times 5 is 5. 8 times 5 is 40. Carry the 4. 4 times 5 is 20. Plus 4 is 24. Carry the 2. 5 times 3 is 15. Plus 2 is 17. 5 times 4 is, and I got to carry the 1. 5 times 4 is 20. Plus 1 is 21. Carry the 2. 5 times 8 is 40, plus 2 is 42. Alright, add a 0 since we're starting this second row. 3 times 0 is 0. 8 times 3 is 24. Carry the 2. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14. Carry the 1. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Carry the 1. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Carry the 1. 4 times 8 is 24, plus 1 is 25. Let's add. 5 plus 0 is 5. 0 plus 0 is 0. 4 plus 4 is 8. 7 plus 4 is 11. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 3 is 5. 4 plus 5 is 9, and 2 plus 0 is just 2. Add in our 4 decimals, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can see this is 2,952.18, which is right there. Again, not a hard problem. If you're good at multiplying decimals, which you should be if you watch my videos, it's fairly easy. But that said, it's very tedious right in here where you can make a lot of mistakes. Alright, 5 more problems. 25, the sum of three consecutive odd numbers is 171. What are those numbers? There's a way you can do this with a math formula, but it's not necessary in light of how easy this one is. Just add up these numbers for A, B, C, and D, and when you get the right one, you're done. So I'm just going to try to get lucky and pick this one first. 61 plus 59 plus 57. 9 plus 7 is 16, plus 1 is 18. I know this isn't going to work because I got an 8 instead of a 1 there. Let's try B. 55 plus 57 plus 59. 7 plus 9 is 16, plus 5 is 21. Carry the 2. 5 plus 5 plus 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17. So we know this one is B. Don't worry about doing algebra on this one. Again, if it doesn't require you to use algebra and you're not comfortable doing that, just add them up and move on. Rod smokes 1.5 packs of cigarettes a day. Rod buys cigarettes by the carton. There are 10 packs of cigarettes in each carton. If Rod pays $35.80 per carton, how much does it cost him for each day of smoking? So again, we have $35.80 for 10 packs. So this becomes $35.80 divided by 10. As I mentioned earlier, when you divide or multiply by 10, 100, or 1,000, you just move the decimal place left or right accordingly. When you divide by 10 or 100, you move the decimal place to the left by the number of zeros. So there's a 1 0 here. This gets moved to the left 1. So this becomes 358. I'm done with that division. That quickly. Got to be able to do that. So it's $3.58 per pack. We know he smokes 1.5 packs a day. So we're going to do 358 times 1.5. Again, we're multiplying decimals. So we have to make these whole numbers. I'm going to move this decimal place twice. Move this decimal place once. 2 plus 1 is 3. So we move 3 decimal places total. I'm going to rewrite this. 358 times 15. Now these are whole numbers. Again, be careful doing this. You don't want to make any simple mistakes. 5 times 8 is 40. Carry the 4. 5 times 5 is 24. Or 5 times 5 is 25, plus 4 is 29. Carry the 2. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17. Bring down a 0 since we're starting a new number here. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 3 is 3. Add. 0 plus 0 is 0. 9 plus 8 is 17. Carry the 1. 5 plus 7 is 12. Plus 1 is 13. Carry the 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. Plus 1 is 5. We took 3 decimal places away here. Let's add them back in. 1, 2, 3. So this becomes 5.370, or $5.37, which is right there. Now, let's go back to 27. The price of daily admission at Wally World is $27. They do, however, sell season passes for $175. How many trips would you need to make with the season ticket in order to cost less than paying the daily admission? Okay, so we know it's $27 to get in one day, and it's $175 for season tickets. So just multiply, let's see, all these by 27. I'm trying to think if that's the best way to do this. Just bear with me. Actually, I'm going to do 175 divided by 27. Still thinking about the best way to explain this one. Let's multiply each of these days by... Actually, let's do 175 divided by each of these number of days, because when we divide our cost by days, we're going to get the cost per day, which we want to be less than 27. Okay? So disregard this. So first, I'm going to try to get away with doing this by dividing 175 by 7. I always like to pick in the middle with problems like these. So 175 divided by 7. Does 7 go into 1? It doesn't. Does 7 go into 17? It does twice. 7 times 2 is 14. 17 minus 14 is going to be 3. Drop down this 5. 7 goes into 35 5 times. So in other words, if you were to use your season pass and go to Wally World 7 times, it would be the equivalent of paying $25 each time, which is less than 27. Okay? Let's see if 8 is less than 27. If not, we know 7 is going to be our answer. So 175 divided by 8. 8 goes into 17 twice. 8 times 2 is 16. 17 minus 16 is 17 minus 16 is 1. Drop down this 5. 8 goes into 5 one time. So we know 8's going to be a lot less. Of course, that's a given. I shouldn't have done that one. Let's do 175 divided by 6. If this is less than 27, we know 6 is the answer. I shouldn't have done the 8. That was my error there. 6 goes into 17 twice. 17 or 2 times 6 is 12. 17 minus 12 is 5. Drop down this 5. 6 goes into 55 9 times. Okay, so if you go 6 times, you're paying $29 each time. If you go 7 times using your season ticket, you pay $25. If you go 8 times, you're paying $21. So clearly, the minimum number of times you can go for this to be cheaper than the $27 is B7. Okay? 28. If 8 people can run 16 machines, how many people can 2 people? How many machines can 2 people run? So if 8 people can run 16 machines, that means 1 person can run 2 machines. Okay. How many machines can 2 people run? Well, if 1 person can run 2, that means another person can run 2. So that's a total of 2 plus 2 are 4 machines. All right. Couple more problems. $29. Sam earns 3 times as much per hour as Bob. Bob earns $2 more than Jeannie. As a group, they earn $55 per hour. What is Jeannie's hourly wage? So I'm going to say Jeannie earns X numbers of dollars per hour. We know Bob earns $2 more than her, so we can represent that as X plus 2. We know Sam earns 3 times as much as Bob, which is 3 times X plus 2. We know in total they all earn $55 per hour. I'm going to work this out real quick. Namely, I'm going to distribute this 3 to this x and this 3 to this 2. This becomes 3x plus 6. So we know Jeannie plus Bob plus Sam earn a combined rate of $55 per hour. Let's combine like terms. X plus x is 2x, and I'm just going to plus 2 plus 3x plus 6 equals 55. Let's combine some more like terms. 2x plus 3x is 5x. 2 plus 6 is 8. I don't know why I put an x there. So we're left with 5x plus 8 equals 55. Again, I just combined all these unknowns. Let's subtract 8 from both sides. We're left with 5x equals 55 minus 8. We have to borrow here. This becomes 4. This becomes 15. So 15 minus 8 is 7. 4 minus 0 is 4. So we're left with 5x equals 47. Divide both sides by 5. This goes away. So we're left with x equals 47 divided by 5. 5 goes into 4. It doesn't. 5 goes into 47 9 times. 9 times 5 is 45. Subtract. 47 minus 45 is 2. Add a 5 doesn't go into 2, so we have to add a 0. Bring a decimal up when we add that 0. 5 goes into 20 4 times. 5 times 4 is 20, of course. Subtract. So we know that X, our Jeannie's hourly wage, is $9.40 an hour. Okay? Number 30, a bricklayer charges $12 per square foot to lay a patio. How much would it cost for the bricklayer to lay a 10 by 16 foot patio? So again, area of the patio is 10 by 16, or 160 feet squared. So we're going to take 160 divided by 12. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 6 is 12. Carry the 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Plus 1 is 3. Bring down a 0 since we're starting a new row. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. Add 0 plus 0 is 0. 2 plus 0 is 2. 3 plus 6 is 9. And 1 plus 0 is 1. So we can see this is $1,920, which is this one. And that's it. So this video was very intense in terms of the number of division and multiplication problems we had to do with fractions and decimals. Chances are that if you do well on the ASVAB, you're going to feel like you did during this practice video. That is, you're going to feel somewhat exhausted when you're done with this section. So just bear in mind that in my personal opinion, this practice section had quite a few difficult problems and quite a few problems that required a lot of work to find the answers. So don't beat yourself up if you found this difficult as well. Again, I've posted 3 of these videos already. This would be my 4th video if I'm not mistaken. So work out the other problems in the other videos, and hopefully you find some of those a little bit easier. But that said, if you like this video or found it helpful, leave some positive feedback in the comment section below, or thumbs the video up. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and cut you guys loose. Konnichiwa.